Howdy y'all, and welcome to another high-powered episode of the High Voltage Live Show. I'm your host, Willie Snyder of Nat King Code. I am joined by my awesome partner in crime, Mr. King James Stallcup of Stallcup Electrical Education. And I'm coming to you live from the Mile High City in Denver, Colorado. James is over there in Big Sky Country and Longhorn Country, Texas. Over there where they have big twisters and big steaks and all kinds of big stuff made out of longhorns. So
meat,
we appreciate
and more meat.
Yep.
Great barbecue, great steaks, and great Tex-Mex. Don't need to go anywhere else.
Awesome. We already have somebody from Kentucky up in there. If you click on the thing, it'll actually say what your name is. Right now it just says Facebook user, so I'm like, what's up, Facebook user from Kentucky? And of course we have Mr. E up in the house. Awesome. Yeah, he's on time this time. Awesome. Thanks for joining Mr. Englehart and the Electrical Wizardry Master.
The guy from Kentucky, go over to the YouTube channel and subscribe there. You can watch it from there, and it should put your name on there.
Yeah, and that's all we ask for. We're doing a 12-week Journeyman/Master exam preparation course for free. All we ask is that you get like 5 of your family members to subscribe and yourself, and then we're gonna try to hit 1,000 subs in this time while we're doing it. We'd like to hit 1,000 subs by summer, and it's awesome because we're doing great. I mean, we really appreciate all the people that subscribed. Like I say, big shout out to all the people that's subscribed up, and yeah, and David's looking forward to the next death match. We are gonna get it fired up, David. We're working really hard. It's been a lot of challenges we've had to go through, and like I say, we've got a lot of the bugs out and stuff, so there shouldn't be any like messed up questions. Like
check this out. Let me go forward. I give an update just so everybody can sort of see
okay,
what is all being done and everything, and this will give everybody a good example here. Let me update this page real quick and I'll show everybody. This is the new Stallcup Education website. Looks fantastic. Right now you can see I've got most of the states going. I've got probably about 10 more, 12, something like that. I've got all the information in ready to go. The publications are already set up. They're ready to be purchased. If you want to go in and purchase any publications, those are already what's been up, everything that's been updated. The online courses, I'm about to start putting information in for those. The illustrations and everything are being built. And matter of fact, I just posted a post that went in and talked about the y'all see that okay? I figured it popped up, but we'll have it's showing all the new illustrations, what they look like and everything, and we're about to start putting those together, publications, and then getting ready to do the online courses, and then that'll go straight in the learning management system. So once the website's built, everything will just link over to it, and it'll just start building. So, thank you, brother. I was just looking at that before I got on. We were already at 225 subs on there, and I mean, when we started this, we were only, I think we're just barely over 100, wasn't we? If somewhere in there.
Yeah, it was. I don't even think we were at 100.
Yeah,
go ahead. My nephew, shout out to Moose. Moose was like subscriber number 60, so big shout out to old Moose on there, our Nevada hockey team. One thing I was going to say, I don't think that for the new people out there, they know kind of what's going on. So we have this competition that we're going to run. It's called the NEC Death Match. And I think it's 9 months, isn't it, James?
Yeah, I think 9 months.
And it's $1,000 for the winner, takes it all. So we're going to try to get some other different prizes and stuff too. I've been reaching out to some vendors and stuff, try to get some other stuff going. But and like I said, if you're a vendor and you want to sponsor the NEC Deathmatch, it's going to be really awesome. James, what you put in, was it 23 questions? 24
no,
questions?
I do 20 questions and 4 problems calculation.
Okay.
So if you're
20
watching this, you'll have an idea how to do everything.
Yeah, exactly. And then you'll know when like James is trying to cheat too, because like he always tries to like cheat when he's trying to like win the Willie Quiz, and I'll let him cheat. So like I say, I try to keep it fair. This week, you should know these ones off the top of your head. Like I got them to where they're just like super easy. So I make it easy for you. You at least have one slam dunk.
I'm quiet. I don't know why I'm so quiet.
Yeah, I'm probably. Yeah, I do. I am kind of pounding my mic a little bit. I might have to turn down my mic a little bit. Yeah, it's a lot of fun doing these. We really appreciate all the participation. I had so much participation this week on the Myth of the Week. Like I have so much fun, and I always like ask guys at the job site, like, "Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?" And then they're like, "Oh, well, this and this," and then I'm like, "All right, that just got another myth born, and we're gonna run it." So I really appreciate you, James, bringing your slides and everything. It's so awesome. The way you kind of do a deep dive on them, and it gives you kind of more of an understanding than us just arguing in Facebook groups. Like I still love doing it. I still love arguing in the Facebook groups, and it's so much fun. I really appreciate everyone participating every week. Just means a lot. And like I say, I mean, I hit like 80,000 this week, and it's just crazy on like one post to hit that high. So
I don't usually pay much attention to a lot of things, but I was looking on the YouTube side. It had a thing that popped up on there, which I'd never seen before. And I just want to thank everybody. You wouldn't believe the viewing hours that are on there. I mean, it spiked up like 2,000%, and it said congratulations. I was like, well, what's this mean? I had to sort of research a little bit. We usually get a month about 20, 30 viewing hours, and just this last week, I guess because of the Journeyman stuff, it was at 42.8 hours. Just in the last week, so I think people are starting to enjoy watching this. But anyway, you want to run the myth of the week?
Yeah, and I kind of want to give everyone like a little backstory on this. The UL laboratories, they used to like test their products like on overnight tests, and so I just did like a hypothetical, like what if they did it on Wagos? So.
Okay. Okay.
So what cracks me up?
That was break your own news.
Yeah, it's an actual app that you can use, but it's so funny. I use it a lot of times, and it just cracks me up. Awesome. We really appreciate it. And the thing is, what we try to do is we try to do little different segments, so you can fast forward different segments you like, different segments you don't like. James is a master in Texas, and I'm a journeyman and certified fire alarm technician in Colorado. So it's a lot of fun that we can bring this stuff to you guys and just bring you guys awesome content. I actually am creator of the Myth of the Week, so let's run it.
One thing I'll also say,
okay.
When we're doing this Journeyman thing, if you look down in the description, if you want to be able to have a hard copy of it, there's a link to go purchase over at Builder's Bookstore, who publishes our publications. And the illustrations that are in the publication don't look like these. These will be in the online course, and then I'm eventually going to update them and put them in a new digital copy. Because to do it in the hard copy printed like that, the book would cost you $200 at a minimum. to do all that in color like that. So that's why they're done in grayscale. So I just want to point that out in case somebody goes there and says, "Why the hell ain't that in color?" Well, there's the reason. So, all right, let's run the myth, baby.
All right.
It's time for Myth of the Week.
All right, so this is an age-old debate that we've had throughout all the years. Like I can remember this going back to when I was first electrician. This is the bottom of a gear that was some 4160 out at the plant, and I always thought this picture was hilarious because we have some equipotential bonds that are coming through in there, and then we had to bond those to the enclosure. So this is all, we're going off spec, so we have bonding style Myers hubs in there with bond number 8 bond going through there to our bar, and then going to that same bar is, I believe it was number 1, number 2, I don't remember exactly the size, but it was pretty good size. It might have been number 4, I don't remember. There was a pretty decent size bond going to the equipotential plane. That was basically like the most grounding and bonding I've ever seen ever. But it was pretty funny. I call this picture "Got Ground" because there's just so much ground in there. But this was a pretty interesting picture when I took it, and yeah, awesome. Thanks a lot. We'll appreciate that, sir. So anyway, getting back to the myth is electrical metallic tubing can be used as a equipment grounding conductor and provides a better grounding path than a number 12 AWG copper conductor. That is absolutely true. And the EMT has a larger surface area. I saw a lot of comments, which people are correct, like as long as it's installed correctly. But you cannot base this off of a code violation. So you can't sit there and go, well, if they don't tighten their set screws, then it's not. And it's like, well, that would be a code violation because they're supposed to mechanically fasten every connector and every set screw and make every connection wrench tight. So the reason that they did this number 12, and James will get into this as we go through this because he's got a lot of expertise on this. Basically, the number 12 is going to be a more reliable grounding path, and you're basically terminating at every termination point, every connection point, every box, every metal enclosure. You're bonding that in, and so there's a lot of reasons why we actually pull a full-size ground through all our conduits, even though that conduit, and James probably remembers this too, we used to do work out at Denver University, and they almost didn't have any grounds pulled in anything. And so what we'd do is we'd pull our MC cable, like a grounded style MC cable, to that panel board, and then we would just tap and thread a ground bar into the metal of that enclosure, and then we'd run our ground there. And that's all we had. We didn't have any other way to do it. And then that EMT, going back to the service equipment, was actually the ground path. And they relied on that for many, many, many years. I know me and James have done some research on this in the past, and that was considered adequate for equipment grounding conductors. So there was a lot of really good answers in the chat, and all the comments of all the groups and stuff. And I really appreciate all the participation. Like, it was really awesome. The people that said false, I got you. So it's all good. It's good to get got.
Well, I can definitely and specifically speak on this. that's probably about 25 years ago, maybe 20 years, somewhere in there. Richard Lloyd, he did a lot of consulting and stuff with the pipe manufacturers, and he actually did a course. And it was actually one of the meetings within FPA, and it was going in talking about how the conduit was a better equipment ground, and they showed all the testing and everything. So none of that was disputable at that point, because this was one of the things that sort of took place, and it sort of makes sense why they came out afterwards and they started doing the testing, because a lot of people won't know this, but I'm going to give y'all some background. The reason I know this so well is there was a guy that was working on an HVAC unit, and I may have told this story before on the channel, but a piece of EMT had come loose, and it was trying to send a fault back. It didn't have an equipment ground, and he reached up, grabbed hold of that pipe, and he had hold of metal on the other side. Well, of course, that current went through him, and of course, eventually he let go, and what hurt him the most was the fall, because he was probably 10, 12 foot up. And so it went to court, and my dad was actually the expert for OSHA, because OSHA was going after the company too. And then they had their expert. And then back in, you used to look, I think it was 250-96B, if I'm not mistaken. And that's where they would go in and they would talk about, you could use the electrical metallic tubing as an equipment ground. And if you were sitting there in the courtroom listening, you would have thought the case was over at that point. Well, then Dad's attorney and OSHA, he got up there and he went through the whole thing. The guy thought, I got this whip, and then he said, now if you look over at 250-51, what does it say? Well, this is where we get into this and you start to look at this. And this changed in 1999 where they moved everything around, and we'll get in. Yeah, I'm with you, David. And I knew his wife, Nancy. I mean, I had dinner with them so many times, and we've been to shows and all kinds of meetings, IAI, all of that. I mean, I knew all of them people. And but anyway, when you look at this, now you're going to be looking at 250-4, A5, and B4. We'll look at that in a minute. But and it's going to read a little bit different, but I want to show what it showed in 1996. It says the path to ground from circuits, equipment, and metal enclosures for conductors shall be, and this is the most important one right here, be permanent and electrically continuous. Okay?
Absolutely.
Well, when they were in the courtroom, he asked him, is that permanent and electrically continuous? He says it was at the time of installation. And the guy said, how do you know that? He said, did you see it? He said, they could have not set one of those screws, mechanically tied it down, whatever. Well, long story short, a few $1 million later, and that was back in the 80s, then all of a sudden you started seeing all these facilities, these engineers and everything in their specs, they started wanting you to pull an equipment ground in the conduit, and it was based on that case. Now, if that is the case, and you go over here and then you looked at 250-92C and you pick up number 1 there, number 2, you can look at both of them, but it talks about the installation of the equipment grounding conductor, and it even states there where it consists of a raceway, cable tray, cable arm, or cable sheath, or where it is a wire within a raceway. Okay, so they're telling you it could be a wire within it, or it can just be the raceway itself, doesn't it?
So what cycle is this from pre-99? Because I know didn't they get rid of the dashes after 99?
Yeah, this was in 1996. It's up there. It says 1999 is when they started laying out a little bit of the grounding chapter. And
gotcha.
You go back and look at all of this. I actually had to go back and research because I couldn't remember the year. I thought it was 1996, but I wasn't 100% sure. And I went back. I was right. But
Okay.
then it goes in and talks about applicable divisions code, and it says using fittings for joints and terminations approved for use with that type of raceway or cable use. And then it tells you there that all those connection joints and fittings shall be made tight using what? Suitable tools. So it's got to be tight. You got to make sure it's in. Now,
Yep.
as an inspector, if I would have been looking at this, I would have made a few provisions here, because I would have been worried that something could get loose. And anywhere that I had a coupling, more than likely I would have had more strapping on it if they were going to use the conduit in that way. And I would have told them, I want you to put a strap 1 foot on each side of that. And that would have kept anything from coming loose. It would have kept it electrically continuous and permanent. But there was nothing in the code that stated that. That's just a judgment.
So there was an interesting thing that somebody brought up that they were talking about. Remember what they used to do back then? That they used to actually have those crimp couplings.
Yeah, they
remember
did.
the coupling crimper.
Yep.
And so that was like right when I was first getting in the trade. So I do remember that. And then they were complaining about some of those where they're using that as the conduit as the equipment ground. Some of those crimps not being crimped all the way and not making a good connection. So that was something that I didn't realize, and I'm sure some of the old timers have seen some crimp couplings sitting there glowing. They're trying to clear a fault.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's right.
That was awesome just to hear some of that stuff.
Yeah, that goes back to the old school.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you look, one of the things you're going to see, the terminology that's going to be used now, and especially when we get over to 250.4 A5 and B4, it's going to talk about the ground fault current path. And when you go look at that, it tells you an electrically conductive path from the point of a ground fault on a wiring system through normally non-current carrying conductors, grounded conductors, equipment, or the earth to the supply electrical source, okay? And then if you go down and look at the informational note, it talks about the types or combinations that you could use here as examples. And if you'll see there, metallic raceways is listed in the informational note.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's why I wanted to pull that out, because people will say, well, you go over and look. Well, you got to look at the whole code, and when you start looking at it, you can see here it's giving you this permission in the informational note. It's just I would take a few extra little steps, in my opinion.
Yes, sir.
And then you look at 300.10, and it talks about the electrical continuity of the metal raceways and enclosures, and it's telling you there that they have to be mechanically joined together in a continuous electrical conductor and shall be connected all boxes, fittings, cabinets so as to provide what? Electrical continuity. And then once again, it says they'll be mechanically what? Secured. Okay? So that goes through it. And then when you come to the next one here, you'll see this is your 250.4A5, and look at the heading there, affected ground fault current path. And that is talking about the same thing. Now, if you go back and look at 250-51, there's one part of that that's missing in that. And that is what? The continuous and permanent. They're doing that over in the other sections.
Right.
Okay.
So I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have to have a mechanically continuous continuity on your EMT even if you pull a full-size equipment ground?
Well, yeah, you're supposed to have, it's supposed to be installed that way. Just the installation rules of the code require that. But in other words, it's if you go back here, and this sort of answers your question right here. If you look here, let me go back one more, sorry about that. If you look here in the informational note, it says examples of ground fault path currents are any combination of equipment grounding conductors. And that's what they're telling you here. You can have the conductors and the metal raceways. That's a combination.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then you got your 4A5 and B4, and that's all related to the path of the current. And the only thing that's not in there from the 250-51 and the 1996 was a continuous and permanent, but you carry that over with all the other sections there. And then if you look at 250.120, this is your installations for your equipment grounds. And look at there, same thing. It's been carried over, and it says where it consists of a raceway, cable, whatever. It says a wire within. All the same terminologies there that was back in 250-51 I'm sorry, what section was I looking at back in 250-96B, I think it was. And then it says all connections, joints, and fittings shall be made tight using what? Suitable tools. So when you go in and look at all of this, it specifically is giving you permission. And then 250.118 talks about your different types of equipment, grounding conductors, and number 4 is electrical metallic tubing. So it's all tying in. But before I even got to this section that probably most everybody referenced, you need to look at all that other stuff and tie it in, because this is how you're getting that permission.
True.
Okay?
Awesome. Well, myth is confirmed. You can use EMT as an equipment grounding conductor, and it's better than a wire.
It is. And I have actually sat in the class that was done by Georgia Tech University that Richard Lloyd did present, and he had the documentation. I said, yeah, it's better. So,
well, you could think right away it has more surface area.
Sure it does. And that's why it's good to cover these things. And then, it's like I've always said, and you've heard me say this I don't know how many times, you cannot just take one thing in the code and just assume that's what you do. You got to look at other parts of the code. And that's why in our books, and we're the only ones that I know of that even do this, but we have a lot of, in certain illustrations, we have NEC loops. And we loop you through the code because there's other things that you need to look at depending on the type of installation. And we spend a lot of time, but that's 80 years of experience, Dad and I going out doing all these courses and stuff.
And one thing that's always awesome, I always love when I just happen to catch you riding with Senior, and I happen to just say something that's one of these myths that us youngsters talk about. Next thing you know, we go on this whole journey, and we both just learn the whole time while you're sitting there driving along. So I appreciate that.
I can't remember what that was. One time you called, he goes, "Oh hell yeah, I remember that. We did blah blah blah. They used to do this, and they had to change."
No, it was a few weeks ago. Is the underside of a meter enclosure a dry location?
Oh yeah, he went all over. He goes, "Yeah, back when I was going through, you could do that." And he starts telling why you can't.
Yeah,
and that is true.
Yeah, that is true, David. But yeah, it's funny, and that taught me so much, and that gave me this kind of insight of where all these myths come from. It comes from a lot of these old timers. They pass it on, and it just, don't worry about doing weatherproof fittings under there. That's a dry location. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, there's actually inspectors out there like, it's a dry location.
Sure. Like, and I'll make one other comment about that EMT. You go look at 358.30, it'll tell you strap within 3 foot and every 10 foot thereafter. But if they're not pulling equipment ground in there, this just me, but I just sort of feel at that coupling, you should do it 1 foot on each side. That way it's not getting loose or anything. Somebody pulling on it, it'll hold itself,
Well, stay tuned for the myth of the week next week, because we're gonna be busting Mr. Inspector on that one. But I do agree with you, James. But like I say, that's kind of that's gotten to be a little bit of a myth that people think you have to strap it on both sides of the coupling, and that's not
true.
But we'll see.
All right.
We'll see how everyone reacts. But
ready for the topic?
Let's do it, brother.
All right, let me cue it up. All right. Well, this
looks like we got somebody agreeing with you on there.
Yeah.
So,
that's an old school thing that you learn. I mean, the older electricians, they knew about that, and that's experience. That's all it is. It's just experience, and you learn as you get older. And what I try to do is just pass down the logic, from the older guys, and why we did what we did. And usually if I'm telling you something and I'm sticking by my guns, you can bet there's a reason behind it. I just don't just throw stuff out there, and just say, yeah, just believe me, because I told you. Usually I'm giving you all the reasons behind it and everything, why they did what they did. But, that's one of the things you learn writing these code change books, and you got to go through and check all the substantiations and everything and do reference material back. Yeah, I tell you what, you learn a hell of a lot doing that kind of work.
Just a FYI, if you're out on my project and you're strapping on within 1 foot of each coupling, you're done.
Yeah, you better pull the equipment ground in.
It's all good.
Now, this week on the topic of week, we're going to go over the voltage drop calculations. Then we're starting the designing wiring methods. I've got 16 different ones 18. I think there's 18. But we'll probably get through about 8 of those tonight. And then next week we'll come over, go over those, and then we'll go through the remaining 8. So that'll definitely put us into 4 or 5 weeks. And then we get in the conductors. So we're going to be looking pretty close to 12 weeks, but it could be a little bit longer than that. But, it just depends on how things go. So anyway,
there's going to be no complaints from people that want to learn more.
Oh no, as much viewing time as these things are getting, it's really starting to show me that people really enjoy this. So. And
do we got a debate recap coming up? Yeah, the debate recap on there. That'd be awesome, man.
We're definitely, if he'll show up after the panels vote on it and everything, and we'll find out. Yeah. But anyway, this is sort of getting in where we're doing a single phase branch circuit for voltage drop, and if you look over in the illustration, you'll see we're going to do 3%. We got a 200-foot run of conduit. We got number 3 conductors, and of course the conductors are uncoated. And then we got a load of 80 amps. And like I said last week, always get familiar and learn the formula. It's 2 times L times I times R. So 2 is a constant, L is the length, I is the amperage of the circuit, R is the resistance of the conductor, which you'll go over and look at Chapter 9, Table 8. And go over, pick up the uncoated wire, come down, get what the resistance is. And you're going to divide all that by 1,000 to get your voltage drop. So based on this, in step 1, we got a branch circuit with 3% voltage drop. So we're going to put 3 up there in A. And then we had 200 foot, we had 80 amp load, and we had a number 3 conductor. You go Chapter 9, Table 8, uncoated. It's going to come down, tell you it's 0.245. So I'll just take all of that, multiply it together, divide by 1,000. That's going to give you 7.84. Now, just because I've done this over and over, I already know that's too much. And the reason I know that, because if I take in step 2, 240 volts times 3%, that gives me 7.2. That's above that. But if I want to go and check it in step 4, just to clarify that, take that 7.84, divide it by 240 volts. And that's going to give you 3.26, which is above the 3%. Okay, right. That's the way you want to do that. And then the next thing you'll do is just do the same calculation like we did last week. Take all the same values, go up to the next size conductor, which is going to be 0.194, multiply it all together, divide it by 1,000. That gives you 6.208. Well, I know that's below 7.2, but just to verify it, I'll divide it by 240, and that gives you 2.586, which is below the 3%. Therefore, that'll be the size conductor for that voltage drop.
Nice. And yeah, that's so awesome that we have people that have been in the trade that long and stuff. And James started pretty young age with his grandfather.
Yeah, it would have been, you take 6 years off of that, so I think 80. I started in 1976.
Wow.
And I started at 14 working for my grandfather. And the first summer, all I did was put up material, learn what the material was in the office, and then he'd come out there and teach me how to bend 90s, how to do offsets, how to bend saddles, and then we worked our way up. By the end of summer, and I was using a hydraulic bender. So,
and we really appreciate everyone smashing the likes and subscribing. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
What's the holy smokes for? Because I started in '76. That's hurtful, man.
I know. Yeah, I started in '95, so I got a little bit of push on that one.
It's 2 days ago. I stopped at Murphy Gas over here. I stopped to get me some Grizzly Arctic Blue Snus, and I got me 4 cans. And he goes, "Can I see your ID?" I said, "Are you serious?" He goes, "Yeah, we always ask." I said, "Wow," I hadn't been asked for my ID in so long. I couldn't get it out of my wallet enough. I said, "Check it out." He goes, he was adding up how old I was. I said, "I just turned 60. He goes, "Ah, dang, dude, you don't look 60. I said, "Well, you ain't played a round of golf and see how that body feels afterwards."
Yeah, true. 100%.
Okay. Now, the next one is exactly the same thing. You'll notice we're doing the exact same type loads. The only difference in this calculation here is it's 3-phase, and I brought this up last week. I said if you're doing 3-phase, after you've calculated and got that voltage drop, you need to multiply it by 0.866. Okay? So step 1, put 3 for A, and then you just put the same values we had in the last problem. We had 2 a constant, length was 200 foot. We had 80 amps of load, and then for the number 3 conductor, the resistance for that conductor for uncoated was 0.245 divided by 1,000, and you still get 7.84 like we had in the previous one. The only difference here is I'm taking that 0.866 for the 3-phase, and the way you get that is take 1.732 divided by 2, and that'll give you 0.866, and that'll give you a grand total there of 6.789, which is below the 7.2. Now, if I want to verify that, just take the 6.789 divided by 240 volts, and that'll give you 2.8%, which is below the 3%. And that's about as easy as you can do it. Now, the last one that I have here, you are a treasure trove. Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Now, the next thing is I showed you there's another way you can do it based on circular mill, okay? And in this one, we're doing copper, and the constant for copper is going to be 12, okay? So if I look at that, I've got 82.5 amps of load that's in there. I've got 125 foot run that's there. We're going to do a 3% voltage drop. So step 1, 3%. And then if I'm doing it based on circular mill, you still got 2 the constant, then you got your length, your amperage, and then your constant that they're going to use there, 12 for the copper, and you're going to multiply all that together, divide by 7.2 voltage drop, which is a 240 volts times 3%, and that's going to give you 34,375 circular mil. Go to chapter 9, table 8. You'll look in that first column over there, come down in the circular mil that's above that, which I think the number 4 is like 41,630 or something like that. That's the next one above that. So you would need a copper conductor for the voltage drop of number 4. Okay.
And so isn't it the same exact formula if you're doing aluminum, but just the constants like 19.5 or something like that, or 19?
Yeah, it changes. Yeah, that's the only difference in them. It's the same formula.
Gotcha.
It's just one's copper and one's aluminum.
Gotcha.
Okay?
All right.
Now, I thought about how I wanted to do this. And the first thing when you get in and start doing box count and everything is you need to know the methods of counting your conductors. Okay? Right. And when I started looking at this, I was like, okay, I meant to put that wiring tip below the 16B1. But what we did, this is just how you'd see it in our publication. We would come down and we would tell you, you got to take and you got to determine what the conductor count is, and you're going to look at 314.16 B1 through B5. And when you look at the conductor field in B1, it tells you anytime you have conductors passing through the box unbroken and not pulled into a loop, coil, or spliced together with Scotch locks, you count them as what? 1. So any conductor coming through counts as 1. If you pull them into a loop or coil of unbroken conductor, not less than twice the minimum length of free conductor in 314 shall be counted how many times? Twice. Yep. And then conductors passing through boxes are utilized to do what? Supply things further down line. You have a receptacle down there, luminaire, something like that. And then if you have a splice conductor, each one of those conductors that are being spliced count as 1 conductor. Okay? Right. Now, the next part of the conductor field here, it says a conductor that is not entirely within the box shall not be required to be counted used towards the box field. A pigtail from a splice within the box to a receptacle or switch mounted to the box, or a bonding jumper from the receptacle yoke to the box is an example of such conductor. Okay? Gotcha. So in other words, you're not going to count that if you got a pigtail, for instance, okay, yep, or a bonding jumper. Then gotcha, there's an exception. But now what we tried to do, if you look at the first one, what we did, we split them. We told you what needed to be counted in B1. And then we went to the next part in B1, told you what didn't need to be counted. So gotcha, we try to separate things so you don't screw up, basically. Right. And then if you look at the exception, it says where you have wires from luminaires, they shall be counted determining the size of the box. So if you have fixture wires from 18 to 12 or larger, shall be counted determining the size of the box to support the luminaires. Now the exception here permits the canopy of a luminaire to be used to house 4 or less fixture wires that are smaller than number 14 plus the equipment ground. So if you have a canopy there, you don't have to count it as long as the conductors are number 14 or smaller. Okay. Okay. Now, gotcha, right after you get through that, then it goes in and talks about the clamp field. And it says boxes with 1 or more cable clamps. So these are going to be cable clamps that are installed to support cables in the box. You've got to count at least 1 conductor added toward the field category. So it doesn't matter how many you have coming in. I still have to count 1. Now, if I have different size conductors coming into the box, then it's going to tell you you have to base that cable clamp on the largest conductor that's going to be entering the box. Okay?
Yeah, and we did this back in MIS a while back, where we actually had a number 10, but it had 3 number 12s connected to it, and then you have to count that number 10 allowance.
Sure.
Because that's the largest conductor.
That's the largest. And we're gonna do a calculation a little bit, and I'm gonna show you one with a lot of different conductors and a lot of equipment grounds. And I'm gonna show you something that a lot of people probably won't be aware that you're supposed to do this, but we're gonna show you how to take that at a quarter fill of the allowance once you're over 4 equipment ground and conductors, and taking it at that quarter, which is 0.25, and I'm gonna show you how to put that in the calculation. Okay?
Right.
Now, the support fittings field, if you have a luminaire, stud, or hickey, you have to count for each one of those. So there would be 2 there. If you had a stud and a hickey, you'd have to count 1 conductor for each one of those fittings. Okay? Right. And then you go to the next one. This is your device or equipment field, and I'll just tell you how to do this. You're going to have to count 2 conductors for a receptacle, switch, or something like that. Okay? So, yeah. And you'll see this. It'll be simple. I can just read all that, but you'll see it when we get to it. Now, when you get to the equipment grounding conductors, it says equipment grounding conductors passing through or spliced together in a box. All you have to do is count 1. Okay? Yep. And the next time you have to count another one is if you have an isolated equipment ground in there. You'll have to count that one. No matter how many that are in there, you're going to have to count that one. Then, right, if you look at the 3rd paragraph, it says a quarter 0.25 volume allowance shall be made for each additional equipment grounding conductor or equipment bonding jumper that enters the box based on the largest grounding conductor or equipment grounding conductor. And this is when you get over 4. I forgot to put the 4 in there. Okay? So let's take a look here. Now we're going to do an example problem right off the bat, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do same size for a rounder octagonal box. Then we're going to do different size conductors. Then we're going to go to a device box. We're going to do same size and different size. Then we're going to go to a square box, do same size, different size, and then we're going to go to other type boxes. And we get there, I'll show you that. But we'll do same size and different size conductors. Okay.
I was totally reading your graphic wrong for a minute. I thought it said total 0. I was like that's awesome. Like that's how I got it. I'd be like equals 0.
Make it easy, wouldn't it?
I know. It says 9, so all right.
Okay. Now what it says, what size round or octagon box is required to support a luminaire supplied with 2 number 14-2 AWG with ground non-metallic sheet cables, Romex. You got a luminaire stud, that's 1, a Hickey's 1, and 2 number 14 fixture wires. Now, right here, I'm going to have to count those fixture wires, 2 of those, because it's not in a canopy. And then it says neutrals are spliced with a pigtail, and Romex connectors are used instead of clamps. So we're not going to have to count for the clamps because they're not connectors, right? All right. So in step 1, we tell you here we're going to be doing same size conductors, and we tell you to look at 314.16 B1 through B5. All the information we just went over. Well, I had 2 number 14 hots, 2 number 14 neutrals. Each one of those will be 2. I got 2 number 14 equipment grounds. I only have to count 1, so I put 1. I got a luminaire stud and a Hickey. I count 1 for each of those. The pigtail and Romex connectors, there's no count there. And I had 2 fixture wires. I had to count 2 because there wasn't a canopy. Add those up. That gives you 9 number 14 AWG conductors. If you go over and look at table 314.16A, right on the top up there, you'll see 14, 12, 10, 8, all the way up to 6. And you just come down and look at the left-hand column. You'll have your round and octagonal boxes. Come down and look at the size above that, the number that's allowed in there, same size conductors above it, and you'll pick up, and it'll tell you for those 9 number 14s, you need a 4-inch by 2 1/8-inch round or octagonal box.
Yeah, and just to clarify something real quick, James, because a lot of people get confused on this one. When they're saying Romex connectors, those connectors don't protrude into the box. Now, right. if those were called cable clamps, those would have to be a 2 allowance, because you have 2 cable clamps that are interior of the box, so those would have to be counted. So just don't get confused on that. Romex connectors outside the box, cable clamps inside the box.
That's right.
So that's a common misconception.
Sure it is. Now, this one, when you get ready to do this, will be part of the homework for next week. You're going to see we've got number 12s. These are all same size conductors. The thing that you want to pay attention to here is I actually have a canopy there. Okay? Yeah. And if there's a canopy, guess what? You ain't going to count for those. Okay? So I'm giving you a little helping hand. And then you just go in, start adding your conductors, and 314.16 B1 through 5, and then when you get to step 2, you'll look at table 314.16A, pick up the number 12 column, come down, whatever the total amount is, you want to be above that, go across, and it'll tell you your size box. Okay? Now.
Yeah, and I didn't even know that either. Alan makes a good point that he didn't even know that isolated ground wire is counted as additional wire. And dude, that's a good one, Alan. Mm-hmm. I didn't even catch that. I didn't even know that personally. Like, yeah. I thought technically it's defined as something different. It's not an equipment ground.
That's right. But when you look at 314.16 B5, it specifically states you got to count it. And that's one of the things, when you go in and you look at our publications, we lay them out in such a way to separate things so you understand. We don't keep it in one paragraph. We separate it from the previous paragraph because it was very specific, and we want to make sure that you're counting that conductor. Okay? Now, the next one is different size conductors, and what we're going to have is we're going to size a round or octagonal box to support a luminaire, and we're going to have 2 number 12, 2 were ground non-metallic sheet cables, and you're going to have a fixture stud, 2 cable clamps, 2 pigtails, and 2 number 18 fixture wires. And we're telling you here, there's no luminaire canopy here. So now when you do this, you're still going to use the combination for counting your conductors in 314.16B1 through 5. But in order to get the cubic inch for each one of those conductors, you need to look at table 314.16B. It'll be right below table 314.16A. And if you have number 12, the cubic inch rating for number 12 is 2.25 cubic inches. And then if I pick up the number 18, it's good for 1.5 cubic inches. Okay. So, and now if I had a canopy here, then it would be considered all the same size conductors. Okay. But since I don't have a canopy, I got different size. So if I look at 2 number 12 hots, I take the 2.25 cubic inches times 2. That's going to give me 4.5 cubic inches. The neutrals are the same way. I got 2 number 12 equipment grounds, only have to count 1, so I'll put 2.25 there. I've got to count the fixture stud and the cable clamp. Those are based on the largest conductor, of course, which is a number 12. So I'll have 2.25 cubic inches for each one of those. Pigtails you don't count. I had 2 number 18 fixture wires. Take the 1.5 cubic inches times 2 is going to give me 3 cubic inches. Add all that up, gives you 18.75 cubic inches. And then you're going to come over and look in table 314.16A. I think it's the third column.
Looks like a 4.0 deep box is what you need.
Yeah. Well, it'll have the top of box and it'll have the size boxes, and then you're going to pick up your cubic inch rating. You'll come down to your cubic inch rating for a round or optical box, and the next size above at 18.75 cubic inches. You look over the next column to the left there is going to tell you need a 4-inch by 2 1/8 inch box. Okay?
Yeah, for everyone out there, that's called a 4.0 deep.
And this one, same thing here. You got 2 number 16 fixture wires. The only thing I'll point out here, we got the known values in there. There's no canopy here. So that's why we have different size conductors here. Okay? Now, the next one, we're going to look at a device box. Okay? Now, the one thing I like to point out, it doesn't matter to me if I'm doing these box fill calculations or even when I get to conduits. One of the things I always teach when I'm doing this, you either have same size conductors or different size conductors when you're doing these calculations. So like when I get over to pipe fill, I'm going to be looking over an Annex C for all the same size conductors. But when I start getting different size conductors, now I'm going to be using Chapter 9, Table 4, and Table 5. Okay? So, and we'll get to that tomorrow.
Hey, and just letting everyone know, you could rewind as many times as you want to try to follow James on his code citing, on his code reference, because a lot of people, I don't even think Derek Wickstall could follow you when you're on NEC Live, so you might have to rewind a little bit.
You know, it was funny because he called me after. He says the first time they were ever over 100 people viewing when I was on there for 2 weeks in a row. I mean, we were 150, 70, I don't remember how many. But
you crushed it.
They were asking me questions, and I was just doing these problems off the top of my head, giving him all these values, and he was trying to use NFPA link, and he goes, James, slow down. He goes, we can't keep up with you. He got over after we got off. He goes, well, we know you wasn't looking at any book or anything. Said, you know, that was coming off the top of your head. He goes, you did it too damn fast. I said, well,
dude, I was sitting there showing my apprentice like the next day after that episode. I was like, watch this. I was like, you got to check this out. And then he's like, what is it? And I was all, Bill Snyder has a question, and both you and Derek just started busting up laughing.
I knew.
I was like, yes.
I expected you to ask something off the wall, which you did.
Hey, that was a good one.
It was on the transformer, wasn't it? If I remember right.
Yeah. Do transformers required to be listed?
And I I got a real good answer on that. Even Derek said, I didn't know that. I said, well, I've been doing this a long time. You sort of hear all these questions. Now,
Right.
Next one, we're doing same size conductors, and we're asking what size device box with cable clamps is required for 2 number 14 with ground non-metallic sheet cables and 1 duplex receptacle. Okay. Now you'll see we're using clamps here, so we're going to have to count at least 1 for the 2 clamps that are there. So
Right.
I look at step 1. Once again, you'll see same size conductors, look in 314.16 B1 through B5. And if you sort of forget some of this, just go back and at the opening of this, and all that information's there. So we had 2 number 14 hots, count 2, the neutrals 2. We had 2 number 14 equipment grounds, you only have to count 1. I said if you have a device, you got to count 2 for the device. So we had a receptacle, count 2 for it. The cable clamps, I have to count 1 at least. Add them all up, that gives you 8 conductors. And if you go over and look at table 314.16a, pick up the number 14, come down, pick up the number above 8, go across, it'll tell you need at least a 3-inch by 2-inch by 3.5-inch device box. Now,
Hey, one thing I want to do is I want to do a little bit of a Texas translator here, because just to let everyone know, just like when James says it's hots, that means ungrounded conductors. And when he says neutral, that's grounded conductors. So it's just a little Texas translator, but just so you guys know, like I know what you're talking about, James. But some of the other guys might not. They might have a little language barrier on there.
No worries, doesn't bother me any. It just most people, I've been around, most of them, they say, that's a hot, that's a neutral, But I get what you're saying, ungrounded phase conductors or grounded neutral conductors.
Yes, sir.
And then you'll look here, you got all the same, you got a device there. We actually show a bonding jumper here, you're not going to count for that. But just remember, in this particular one, you have a device and you have to count 2 conductors, okay? Now, the thing I want to point out here is I've done the round and optical, now I'm doing device boxes. If you notice, I'm still sticking with the same principles in my calculation. It all just comes down to your conductor counts. That's it. And as long as you know those, you should be able to do this with no problem at all. Now,
hey, it looked like, go back to that illustration. Do you even have a ground pulled in that?
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it. It looked, I could see the one going to the box. I didn't see the.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been funny, though, if you had it just using the.
Quit saying our illustrations wrong. They're always right.
I'm just kidding.
I know I posted this one that I did showing the path and everything for faults and all of that through the system and all that. And we actually had an arrow that was pointing to the wrong conductor. We just missed it. And they come on and said, how can you be an instructor or an author? You can't even point to the right thing. And if anybody saw this illustration, it was packed with them. There were arrows going freaking everywhere. I mean, matter of fact, I'm going to repost it again. And everybody was like, dude, what the hell's wrong with you? So, and I come in, I said, yeah, I said, you're right. I said, that did get put in the wrong place. And it was just one line off is all it was.
Dude, I'm really sorry for Billy Stallcup. I gotta give you the blame on that one, brother. Even though you're the Billy of the Stallcup. Well, sorry, brother. You dropped it on that one, brother.
What I should have said was, well, I apologize for that. I said, Dad edited that. He missed it. If I'd have edited it, it'd been right.
Oh, throw Senior under the bus. I like it. Yeah, there you go.
That's what he'd say to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this next one's different size conductors, and you'll see we got a device box here. And we're going to have 1 14-2 with ground non-metallic sheet cable. We got 2 number 12-2 with ground non-metallic sheet cables that are passing through. These are just passing through, okay? And 1 receptacle. Now, I do want to point something out. The number 12s are passing through, but when you're counting for the device, it's the conductors that connect to the device, okay?
Yep.
And that's one thing they may throw a trick on you, anybody that's trying to take the test. So instead of putting 2.25 times 2 and getting 4.5, you're going to do a number 14, which is good for 2 cubic inches times 2, which will give you 4 cubic inches. Okay?
Right.
So just remember, it's what's connected to it. And then there's one bonding jumper in the box, and we're using Romex connectors. Okay? Now, as I look at this, I've got number 14. I look at table 314.16b. Number 14 is good for 2 cubic inches, and a number 12 is good for 2.25 cubic inches. So I got one number 14 ungrounded phase conductor hot. I'll take that 2 cubic inches times 1 will give you 2 cubic inches, the same for the neutral. Then I had 2 number 12 ungrounded phase conductors. So I'll take 2.25 cubic inches times 2. That's going to give me 4.5 cubic inches. I'll do the same for the neutral. Give me 4.5 cubic inches. Then I've got 3 equipment grounds there. I only have to count 1, but I count the largest one that's in the box, which will be the number 12. So that'll give me 2.25 cubic inches. And then the number 14 is connecting to the receptacle. So I'm going to count the 2 cubic inches for the number 14 that's connecting to it. And that's going to give me 4 cubic inches. Add all that up, gives me 19.25 cubic inches. Come down in the third column there in table 314.16a, get the next cubic inch rating above that 19.5, come across, and it's going to tell you it's a 3-inch by 2-inch by 3.5-inch box.
Nice.
Okay. Now,
well, you don't have to stray away from the Texas translation. Like, I already gave him the answer key, you know what I mean? So once I do the Texas translation of ungrounded versus grounded, you know what I mean? And you know,
sure. Well, let me go on this a little bit more. Now, when you go and look at that cubic inch rating over, I think it's like 18.5, which is going to be less than that 19.25. So all you would do here is double the volume allowance and put an extension ring on it, and that takes
there you go.
Okay,
I like it. Yeah,
and I think it's 18 point. It's following along. It's got the code book. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just going off memory here when I'm looking at that. And then you get the same thing here. You got different size conductors here, and you'll see we reversed it. You got number 14 passing through, and number 12 are connecting to the receptacle. Well, now I'm going to do 2.25 times 2 because that's what's connecting to the device. So when I do that receptacle, like in the last one, I had 4 cubic inches. This one will be 4.5 cubic inches. Okay? So I'm just giving everybody a little get you going there so you know what you're looking at.
Nice. Awesome.
All right. And then the next one that'll be in there is looking at a square box. These will be same size conductors. I have 2 number 12 2 AWG with ground non-metallic sheath cables that are connecting to a receptacle, and 4 12 2 AWG with ground non-metallic sheath cables that are passing through. And we're telling here use an extension ring because we know you're going to have to kick it up a notch. Now, as you look at this, you got 2 number 12 hot.
You don't even want to know about Willie Jackerson kicking it up a notch.
All right. Now, 2 number 12 hots, 2 number 12 neutrals. That's 2, 2. You got 4 so far. Now, I've got them passing through, but these are going to have to be spliced, okay? Because you can't take a cable just straight through. So you're going to strip it, and you're going to so you're going to have to count double that count there where you're passing through. So you would have 4 number 12 AWG ungrounded phase conductors. That's going to be spliced, so that's going to give you a total of 8, and you also have it for the neutral. And then look at this. Now all of a sudden, because you got them coming in there, you've got your equipment grounds, you've got 10 of them in there now. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, because you got 2 number 12 hots coming in, or 2 number 12 2 AWG with ground non-metallic cables connecting the receptacle. So here I'm coming in, that's going to give me 10 equipment grounds. Now I do have to count at least 1 conductor. Okay? So I counted my 1 conductor, then I got my receptacle, I got to count 2 conductors. Now you can go up to 4, so that leaves me with 6 additional equipment grounds, right? So all you're going to do is take that remaining 6, take it at 0.25, a quarter of the allowance, and that's going to give you 1.5, and you total all that up, it's going to give you 24.5. And I can tell you, and you pick up the number 12, come down, look at the size square box you need here. You got a 4-inch by 2 1/8 inch. That's not going to be large enough, so I'm just going to have to put an extension ring on it, and that'll take care of it. Okay?
Nice. All right.
And then if you look right here, we got another one. This is going to be a real simple one. You got the internal cable clamps there. You've got your conductors coming in. We got 4 coming in, so you're not going to have to worry about taking and calculating for the equipment ground, because you don't have more than 4 there, like we did in the last one. Okay, so this calculation should be pretty easy for everybody to follow.
And it gives you a good visual of when you have the internal cable clamps that you have to count.
Sure.
Versus the ones that are not.
And you look at, look how good that illustration looks. The amount of work that's been done on these illustrations and stuff is just, I think they're really, really starting to look really, really good. All right.
At the end, I'll have to show a Willie kicking it up a notch.
Okay.
when you're all done.
All right. Now, we're going to ask you here, these are different size conductors. We've got 4 number 14 2AWG and 4 12 2AW with G non-metallic sheet cables that are spliced and rounded loads in the dwelling unit or building. So we got no devices or anything kicking here. These are all just running through. We got cables, and of course we're going to be splicing all of these. So I had 4 number 14s. If I go look at table 314.16b, that's good for 2 cubic inches. So I'm going to take it at 4. That's going to give me 8 cubic inches. Then I've got 4 AWG neutrals. I'm going to take those 2 cubic inches times 4 is 8. Then I had 4 hots, and I had 4 neutrals. The number 12, you take it 2.25 cubic inches times 4. That's going to give you 9 cubic inches. And then I have to count at least 1 equipment ground at 2.25. So I look at that. I had 8 equipment grounds there, so I have 4 additional ones. You just take the 2.25 times 4 times 0.25. That's just basically 1 more conductor that you're adding. 2.25 cubic inches. Add all that up, gives you 38.5 cubic inches. Go over to your third column, come down. Look at your size square box. It'll actually contain this. You don't need an extension ring, and you'll need at least a 4/11/16 by 2 1/8 inch box. Okay.
Nice. Okay.
And that's pretty basic on those portions of the calculation. You've got the same thing here. We just got different things here. You're going to go in, calculate how many are there, add them up and everything based on your cubic inch rating. Put it in the blanks there, fill it out, and then we'll check it next week and see what the answer is. Okay.
All right.
This one is going to get in. This is what, when you're looking at our publication, we call other boxes. Okay. And this is going to actually go to the next page too. But this is where you get in like a 6-inch by 6-inch by 6-inch box. All you're going to do when you're doing that, you're going to determine what that square inch rating is of that box. So if I took, for instance, and I'm going off memory here, I think if I took 6 times 6 times 6, I think that's going to give me 216 square inches, if I'm not mistaken. So I would want to keep doing different size boxes till I got above this calculation that's here of 121.5 cubic inches. Okay. So, and I'll show you how to do all that here in a second, but I'm just giving y'all an update. Now, when you get to that, we actually have in our book, we actually have in the back and annex, we have a chart there that you follow that has all those different size boxes to calculate from. Okay?
Okay.
Now, when you look at this, we're going to ask you what size junction boxes required. We got 6 12-2 with ground, 4 12-2 with ground, and 2 12-2 with ground cables. Okay? So knowing that, we're going to have a lot of equipment grounds here, right?
Yeah.
So when you come across, you look at this, we're going to do all this based on cubic inch rating here. even though they're the same size conductor, we're not going to be doing counting of conductors. We're actually going to do cubic inch. And the reason we're going to do cubic inch because we don't have a table in the code that already is set up for the same size conductors. Okay, so you got to get a cubic inch in order to do the cubic inch of the junction box to make sure you have enough cubic inches in there. Okay.
I really like how you put in there splice, because if all those are unspliced, you don't need any equipment ground. You only have one allowance.
That's right. And that's what's good here. You got to look at all of these, and we do it a certain way to make sure that you know what you're looking at when you go in. You're going to take a test. You know what you're getting into. So if you look at those 12 number 12 conductors, you'll see that we had 6 of them, but I'm splicing them, so it's going to count as 12. So I'm going to take the 2.25 cubic inches for number 12, which you'll pick up in table 314.16b, multiply that by 12, and that's going to give you 27 cubic inches for the hot and neutral. And then one equipment ground has to be taken at what? 2.25. They're all number 12, so it's going to be one of them, 2.25. Then I had 4 number 12s in there. I'm splicing those, so that's going to give me 8 of those. So I'll take the 2.25 times 8 is going to give you 18 cubic inches. Then the next equipment ground, just disregard it. We'll count them up in a minute. Then you had 2 number 12s that are spliced, so that's going to give me 4 of those. So I'll take 2.25 cubic inches times 4. That's going to give me 9 cubic inches. And then I'm going to come down and I'm going to add all my equipment grounds up. Well, I've got 4, 8, and 12. Okay, that's 24. All right?
Right.
So I'm going to take 4 of them at count 1, which I did up at the top at 2.25. That leaves me with 20 additional equipment grounds. And since it's a number 12, I'll take it at 2.25 cubic inches, and then I'll multiply that at 0.25 for my quarter allowance, which is going to give me 11.25 cubic inches. Then I'm going to add all those cubic inch ratings together, and that's going to give me 121.5 cubic inches. Then you'll see up there, we'll tell you, see the chart for large enclosures. And what we want to do is get right above that, and we're already done it for you. So we're going to tell you, you take 6 times 6 is 36 inches times 4. That's going to give you 144 cubic inches, which is the next size above that's large enough to contain that 121.5 cubic inches.
Right.
Okay. And
I like it.
And then you come over here and you look at the next one, and you'll see we got all these set here, and we're giving you just one wire, but you basically see everything is what's spliced here.
Yeah.
Okay. So you come in, start calculating all of these, and you'll see below we've got the conductor set here for the sizes and everything, so you shouldn't have any problem following along with this.
So is that homework there?
That's homework.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
That's everybody's homework for next week.
So I'm glad that everyone's just gonna be rattling off a whole bunch of things we don't understand in the chat.
I think they're gonna like this when they go through it. They're gonna see it's not that hard to follow. And I will tell you, when you get to stuff like this here, with these illustrations, you won't find any other publication that I'm even aware of that has where you can see the illustration, and then you come in and you fill in the blanks and actually work the problem. And one of the cool things is once I get all the online and everything together, you're actually going to be able to go online and click any of these sections or anything, and it'll automatically pull this information up. But the coolest thing is you can just hover right above that blank and click it, and you can put the values in and work the problem actually online. So if you're an inspector, you're an apprentice, journeyman, master, contractor, it doesn't matter who you are, engineer, you could be out on the job, and I'm going to actually have one for calculations where you can have like monthly access. And if you're out on the job, you can actually go in and just put your own values in. It's like a calculation form.
Nice.
So you can just do it on the job.
are still waiting for somebody to post something better.
Yeah, nobody will. All right. Now, as you look at this next one's where you have different size conductors, and we're still going to do it in square inch value. And you've got 8 number 10, you got 20 number 14, and you got 12 2 were ground, and then you got 4 number 6 were grounds. Now, let me explain something here before we get started on this one. The same principles are going to apply, but remember, it doesn't matter what size the equipment grounds are in here. You're going to base it on the largest equipment ground. Okay? So when you count all these equipment grounds up, the largest one's a number 6. And if you look at table 314.16b, you're going to do the additional equipment grounds at 5 cubic inches.
Right.
Okay? So just remember that when y'all start looking at this. So let's look at the first one. We had 8 number 10s that are spliced here. Okay? Now, I'm going to take the number 10 for table 314.16b is 2.5 cubic inches. I'm going to take that at 8, and that's going to give me 20 cubic inches for the hot and neutral. I can already tell you the number 10 is not the largest for the equipment ground, so we're going to pass that. Then you got 14 ungrounded phase conductors. You take that 2 cubic inches times 20, that's going to give me 40 cubic inches. Number 14 is not the largest, so I'm going to leave that off of there for the equipment ground. Then I've got the number 12 hots. They're good for 2.25 cubic inches times 12. That'll give me 27 cubic inches for each, the hot and neutral. The number 12 still isn't the largest for the equipment ground. Then I got 4 number 6s. So I'll take the 5 cubic inches times 4 is going to give me 20 cubic inches. And then, of course, the equipment ground for number 6 is the largest, so I have to have at least one of those at 5 cubic inches. Now you add all these equipment grounds up here. I've got 8, I've got 20, I've got 12, and I got 4. Well, guess what? That is 44 equipment grounding conductors in that box. So that gives me 40 additional equipment grounds. I'm going to take that additional 40 times 5 cubic inches based on the largest equipment ground, take it at a quarter, which is 0.25, and that's going to give you an additional 50 cubic inches you have to put in there. Add all those up, and that's going to give you 269 cubic inches. And then I'm going to go over and look at the chart, and you take 8 times 6 times 6, that's going to give you 288 cubic inches, which is right above the 269 cubic inches.
Right. Oh, looks like Alan's bombing on you, bro. Like, that's a lot of homework, man.
Well, I try to, that's 8 things that you're doing, okay? And this is for you to look at. Next week, we get in and we start looking at the cross-sectional area of an LB. The next week, we get into the minimum length of a straight pull, doing another straight pull that has multiple raceways connecting to it. And then we get in and start looking at an angle or U-pull where you got one run that's coming in, then you got multiple runs that come in, and then we get into sizing the EMT, same size conductors. Then you got them different size conductors. Then we get into the nipples here, and then we get into doing a auxiliary gutter, and then we get into doing a ventilated cable tray, and that will wrap you up for next week.
I have a public service announcement to everyone out there. Make sure and strap your nipples. You don't want to be running around with floppy nipples. So here's Willie going above. Here's Willie. He went and he put 2 extension rings on a 4-square box. He has 24 number 12s in a 3/4 EMT. This is a nipple. That is ridiculous. I like when Willie showed me that. I was like, dude, you're out of control, man.
I'll tell you that homework is easy compared to once we start getting in doing the conductors and overcurrent devices and getting in doing full calculations for residential and commercial. It may end up taking us close to 16 weeks to go through everything.
Oh, look who's in the chat. We got Daniel J showed up. Dude, he is lurking. He's just waiting. He's like a shark just waiting to pounce on you, James.
I know.
Oh, man.
That's
Dude.
okay.
Dude, Daniel, the podcast is getting produced, brother. You better back off, man. He's gonna make this the worst podcast. You're gonna be the cancer of the industry. You're the next cancer of the industry, Daniel.
All right, you ready for tool of the week?
Let's do
Let's
it.
see what you got this week. I don't even know what you got.
All right.
It's time for Tool Review of the Week. Sponsored by Electrician's Only Tool Review and Nipex Tradesman.
Alright, this one has become my new favorite tool. I really like it. I'm not really a fan of the Milwaukee red stuff, but this is a knife that they have out, and it's basically like a pocket knife and a utility knife kind of fusion together. You can kind of whip it out, and it has a little lock on it, and then you can put like whatever utility knife you want in there. It does have a little cutaway for the seatbelt cutter, which I kind of like that. It locks both ways. It locks open and it locks closed, which I like. The one thing that my one downfall about it is they won't let me into Ball Arena to go to an Avalanche game. So if you go into like any kind of sports venue, you're gonna have to throw it in the trash. But at the same time, it's still a really good knife. So just make sure to take it out of your pocket before you go into the Avalanche game, and then you won't have to throw your knife away. But I really like it. Really good product, and it works good. Like I say, it's my tool of the week. I like it. And
Right.
Hey, Milwaukee, if you want to send me a couple more, send them on over. I'm waiting. You know,
Awesome.
I'll pass them out to all my friends.
All right, you got a hard question for me this week?
It's a little tricky. I think you might get this one. It's kind of a common number, possibly, but
Okay.
you never know.
Let's look. Storage batteries. 87%. If I think that's 70112B. I think it's been a while since
Yeah.
I've looked over there, but I think it's B. I think it's B. 1.5 hours. I know you go and look the way it's written. You got to read what's written, that 87.5% and all that, because otherwise you'd look at it for 2 hours. But the answer should be B, if I remember correctly.
Ding, ding, ding. You are correct, and that is 90 minutes. I always try to... Excuse me, sorry. Not complaining about this word.
I'll tell you right now, that's one of our best publications. Matter of fact,
Yeah.
I just finished the update. I mean, you get the publication, but I'm in the process, and it'll probably be ready by summer. But I will have that in a digital format on the site that you can have access to all the publications for, not even a lot per month, but it will be in color. And
Nice.
one of the things that's going to be cool about that, especially in colors, when we're showing like where you're doing working on motors, and you get in there and you're looking at all the control wires and everything, we're actually going to color all that up and show the testing and everything, the readings you get and all that. That's going to be, I mean, it's going to be probably the best book out there by far of any. That includes any of our publications, because it's going to have so much detail in it as far as the color wiring and stuff. So I'm looking really forward to that getting done.
So you actually nailed the code question. You actually nailed the code reference. But just for everyone out there that is not like badass guru like James, 90 minutes is a pretty common thing. I was kind of trying to get him, and you could see James knew the 2-hour one. that like you could see I threw the little 2-hour curveball in there. So yeah. So it's all good. You got it. You jumped the ramp and landed on the other side of Dixie. So
I just need to
got
get this Willie Quiz down.
All right. Well, dude, I made it. You have one slam dunk. Dude, Daniel, this is your challenge. This is your night to beat James because he has one slam dunk. So at least Daniel has one slam dunk too. But okay. I think everyone's going to be surprised this week. It's going to be interesting.
We'll see what it's about this week. All right, let's cue up the Willie Quiz.
You are now entering the zone of the Willie Quiz. Enter at your own risk.
All right, I love the Willie Quiz. So much fun. This week is so easy. James should know all these right off the top of his head. And I know James is going to go, I know this one. And then we're like, dang it. But anyway, with no further ado, a spark of static electricity can measure up to blank amount of volts. Is it A, 50? Is it B, 120? Is it C, 1000? Is it D, 2000? Or is it E, 3000? Good luck, everyone. Alright, so we already crossed James's slam dunk question for the night, so there's going to be no more slam dunk questions. But Daniel is going with D.
Wrong.
So, and Alan is going E. That's pretty high.
That's correct. E. I agree with him. E's it.
Oh man, James, I have to tell you tonight that you and Alan are correct. E, 3000 is the correct answer tonight. So, sorry Daniel, but dude, you're gonna have slam dunks on the next ones because that was his slam dunk question. So
I knew that.
I knew he'd know it, so I try to put it first because I learned my lesson. I put the snowflake one at the end last time, and that was the only one he knew. So now we go into full mode. Here we go.
Let's see what we got.
All right, lightning bolts can travel at or around blank miles per hour. A, 130,000. B, 100,000. C, 70,000. D, 40,000. Or E, too fast to accurately measure the speed of light. Good luck, everyone. All right, James. This one is not even a trick question. This is I guarantee they have a lightning radar gun that they measured this with. And Daniel's going E. Oh, awesome, Daniel. Oh, dude, Daniel comes right out of the gate with E. too fast to accurately measure the speed of light. Oh, I like that. That's a good answer, Daniel.
They can measure it, but I thought it was like 270 or 220 or something like that. God, what was? I think
I wished I actually had an official study that.
I thought they had measured before, and they had it like at 200 and something. I'm gonna go with A, just for the simple fact that I know they had measured for it, but I thought it was around 200 and something. But I'm gonna go with A.
All right, so you're actually saying Daniel's right. That's too fast to even measure because we don't even have the right answer in here. But I'm going to have to go ahead and give you the correct answer. It's 130,000. It says it could travel over, like it said a certain amount, like 180 miles at average speed of 130,000 miles per hour. But it was still kind of an estimate. You know what I mean? So
right. I thought I read long time ago that they had tracks on it. It was like 200 and something. I thought that's why I was like, I know they tracked it.
This is the first time you pulled out instant replay on me, so you know what I mean. I might have to maybe go check like my source or wherever I got. Might have been.
See next week. Let's see if I'm right on that, because I
might have been memory. Might have been ChatGTP. Like getting a few things wrong. You never know.
Could be.
We'll get it.
All right, let's see.
All right, question number 3. All right, blank percent of the U.S. electricity comes from clean burning coal, according to the Electric Energy Commission of the U.S., whatever that is, EIA. Is it A, 10%? Is it B, 22%? Is it C, 30%? Is it D, 33%? Or did I say 33%?
Yeah, 33%.
All right. It's 30%, 33%, or E, 50%. Good luck, everyone. All right, looks like Alan pulled up some instant replay on me, so he's got over 200,000. So maybe I should have, maybe I should have did a little bit more research, before I posted that one.
Well, I knew
Daniel's going B, 22%.
This is a total guess. I'm gonna have to say.
Ooh, I like that, Alan. 50%. Yeah, that's a good answer, Alan.
I think it's sort of high. I don't think it's quite at 50% yet, though. I'm gonna go with D. I don't really know. I'm just guessing.
D,
I'll go with D.
33%.
I got two correct. I ain't complaining.
So let's see. Alan is going 50%. So the correct answer, drum roll, is B. Daniel J. 22%. Daniel J. is the winner of that question. And actually, James is surprisingly correct for some reason. He knew the slam dunk one and the guess one. So awesome. I probably should have did a little bit more research on my thing. Alan called me out. I should have had ones like 1 million miles per hour. That would have been way funnier.
Well,
but
I thought it's probably like 10 years ago, they were talking about that, and I was like, really? And I could have swore in my mind it was like 200 something, I just couldn't remember the exact value, and I looked up there, and I was like, well, it's been tracked, so I know it ain't E, so I got to go with the highest one. So that's why.
Yeah, dude, they had some weak calibration. That was off.
2 for 3, baby. Dude, I'm good.
Dude, Daniel, glad you're here, Daniel. You will love this wall of shame picture. This is incredible. This is the most incredible wall of shame picture ever. I had to make it the cover picture because I was like, this is amazing.
All right, let's hear that.
Shame. 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 Shame.
Oh, dude, wait till you see this, James. This one. Oh, dude, like, you're gonna have to zoom in. Like, I mean, what were they, like, dude, how did this even, like, dude, you're just, like, even Willie was freaking out. Like, even Willie called me, like, dude, how the hell they do that? He's like, dude, this like goes against all my videos I ever taught. Like, looks like they even tapped the half-inch connector somehow set screw into the LB, and then they put like the offset nipple with like a NM cable connector somehow.
That looks like a flex connector.
No, that's a NM. That's a three.
Like
yeah, that's a 3/4 NM connector. It could be a 3/4 MC, but
it's so round. That's why I was thinking it was a flex connector.
Daniel, dude, I'm telling you, brother, when I saw it, I was like, dude, I was like, yeah, dude, I was like, oh yeah. And that, dude, I said that exact same thing too, Alan. I'm like, why? Like you have to like try hard to hack it that hard, but like how did they even get the adapters to like stay with the, like, those things are like, you could just rip them right out of there. Like, they're not secured to anything.
I'm gonna have to say that guy is emotionally unstable.
True.
Hey,
I
I'm
mean,
gonna give him an A+ for ingenuity.
he should have at least used the LR or LL. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. You don't want to have to pull from the bottom like that. You know, like that's inconvenient.
That LB there, he tapped into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
into it.
Yeah, and then he's got the set screw holding the nipple in there.
Yeah, he tapped into it. Oh, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, James will love this one. You know,
he put some work into that. That's a work of art.
It could have been a she too. We don't want to gender appropriate. We don't want to gender appropriate any electricians in this.
Yeah, no, freaking awesome. Mostly unstable.
I knew you would like that. I knew you would like that one. Dude, we really appreciate everyone liking, subscribing. We got 2 likes tonight, James. And it's so awesome that everyone's smashing that like and subscribing. Means a lot to us. And the whole thing is, a lot of people put laugh emojis because they're having a great time and laughing. So that's awesome. You know, we really appreciate that. Yeah.
Just remember, tell people subscribe to the channel. That's why we're doing this, you know, and it helps with the algorithm apparently with YouTube or some crap. I don't understand all that, but somebody told me.
We don't really care. All we care about is Jackson Kelly's and no, I'm just kidding. James like, I don't care about Jackson Kelly. But no, I got a new guitar. I got a new guitar coming this weekend, so you guys are gonna be hearing some new music from me. I'll be producing some new music, so I'm really excited.
Y'all don't hear it when I come on. He's over, and he's over playing his freaking guitar, and I come on.
Yeah.
Every night, every Thursday night. Because he gets on usually before I do, and he's over freaking jamming out.
Yeah, just practicing. Well, he doesn't have his headphones in, so he can't hear how sweet it is. So, you know what I mean? I get to surprise him when all of a sudden he hears it. He's like, oh, that's pretty dang cool.
You did send me that one and said, what do you think? And I said, that sounds like a cross between Metallica and AC/DC. You're like, yeah, it does, dude. I said, yeah, I like it.
Well, that was when I first got my Chibanez 7-string,
I remember.
and like I like it. Like China makes some good stuff, you know, but you know, a lot of people frown on the China stuff, but like I say, I got to get like my bass tuned up, got to get my guitar tuned up, and then I'm gonna have a new topic of the week song that's coming out. It's gonna be soon, and I'm gonna use my new guitar and I'm gonna record it and put it in there. So it's gonna be music from Willie. Coming soon.
That'll
Can't
be
say
awesome.
when, but
Yeah. I'm waiting on it. You know I am.
yeah. And really appreciate everyone joining. Daniel J. Allen, appreciate you joining. David Englehart, appreciate you joining. Everyone, I don't know, random Facebook user from Kentucky, thanks for joining. You know, I really appreciate everyone for joining. Means a lot. Even my cat says they appreciate everyone joining. You know, it means a lot to us, you know, so we're trying to build this channel, and like I say, 1,000 subs would be freaking awesome.
Sounds like that cat saying, "Wow, what a podcast!"
Yeah, I think so. Like some people say hello. Like the cat could be saying hello, but
Or I'm hungry. More
yeah. I mean, I think that cat's always hungry, but yeah, it's all good. It's all good, boy. We'll come get you some stuff. But no, I really appreciate everyone joining, and we'll go get the cat fed and round this baby off. And remember, always make every day an easy day.
Amen. Everybody have a good week. Don't forget to do your homework. And next week we'll cover the boxes and get into the rest of the wiring methods. And then after that we start calculating conductor ampacities. Let's wrap it up.
I wanted to make you think I was pros for a second. That'd be funny. All right.
All right. Everybody
Peace
have
out.
a good weekend. Peace.